Okay, but I'm saying the 2 rounds that Umar won, and I agree, Merab won. He won 3 rounds to 2. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
I am saying that Umar did more damage in the first 2 rounds than Merab did in the last 3. Way more. I mean, I showed you the pictures of their faces. Merab was bleeding and bloody and bruised.
My gosh.
Umar didn't have a scratch on him because Merab is only
After the fight,
Merab is only a gas tank. He grabs your legs and he holds on to you and doesn't do anything.
They have professional
Name
doctors.
Name one moment. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and on today's episode, I'm joined by Elijah. How's it going, Elijah? How do you feel about not winning the title for another week in a row?
It's BS, man.
It's been a long time. I don't think you've held this title since October because you're a casual and you're bad at predicting UFC fights. And your takes are all terrible, too.
How much did I lose by?
You lost by 2.
Only by 2.
Yeah, okay, so.
All my other picks were right.
Most of your actual right picks were all on the early prelims. Just letting you know that.
I know my prelim fighters.
Okay, apparently. You don't know any of the main card, though. You said Moicano was going to beat Islam. So after we recorded last week's episode, that's when Moicano obviously replaced Arman. He did end up picking Moicano to beat Islam Makhachev. Just want to point that out to the fans because they don't know about that yet. Yeah. Just want to point that out. You picked Moicano over Islam.
I'll get into that later.
Okay, we'll get into that later. We're going to be doing a full review of UFC 311. If you haven't checked out our reaction video, it was me, Matt, Jake, and Thomas. We were reacting to the video. That's on the channel now. That got it's at like 7.3 thousand views. Yeah. So please go back, watch that if you haven't already. Or if you're a new fan and you come from that video and you're now watching this is our basically our breakdown video where we actually go through and we talk things out, where the other one was obviously just a reaction. So this is where I get to hear the worst takes of all time from Elijah. We'll go through and you'll give bad take after bad take for each fight.
Yeah.
Okay?
My expert take.
Yeah. Turn your mic a little this way. Yeah. All right. So we've got... I'm just going to skip over most of the prelims. Grant Dawson got a good victory over Diego Ferreira. And Peyton Talbot ended up losing by decision to Barcolos, I think is how you pronounce his name.
That was crazy.
I thought Peyton Talbot was coming in hot in the 3rd round. Thought he was going to get the victory, but he didn't. Yeah, I mean, the crafty veteran is able to put another young upstart on the ground. I mean, a lot of these guys with really good striking that are coming up have no takedown defense. Like, they can defend takedowns from guys that don't know how to take people down, but they can't defend takedowns against guys that are actual grapplers. Sad for Peyton Talbot. Thought he had a bright future. He still does have a bright future.
Yeah.
He's just got to work on that aspect of the fight game. Did you end up seeing any of this fight from Peyton Talbot?
Just saw the results.
Yeah. It was a sad moment. That's when I really started getting into the card. I ended up watching the whole of the main card. Only did the 3 fights for the live reaction. But I think we could start talking about the main card now.
Yeah.
We first had Kevin Holland versus Reiner de Rider. However you pronounce his name. He was the 2 Division 1 FC World Champ. And he submitted Kevin Holland in the 1st round.
That's crazy.
It's becoming a very obvious trend that Kevin Holland versus middleweight grapplers is not a good combination.
Yeah.
Every middleweight grappler Kevin Holland fights, he gets ragdolled. At least this time, he got submitted early in the 1st round, and he didn't have to get dragged around for 3 rounds like he did against Victoria and Brunson.
Yeah.
De Ritter was able to just catch the sub very early in the fight. Where does this leave Kevin Holland?
He needs to do a turnaround. Either you're going to fight for the belt or move on. Go somewhere else. Make another corporation popular or something like that.
Go fight for, like, the PFL or something?
Yeah.
Maybe go bare knuckle? Bare knuckle boxing? Nah.
He's too sensitive.
It's too sensitive.
Yeah, he's a sensitive guy.
Did you see the thing with him and Rampage the other day? He was on Rampage Jackson's podcast.
Nah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was on Rampage Jackson podcast, and apparently he said a couple of things that got the MMA community on fire. He said, one, he didn't care about this fight coming up on Saturday, which he ended up losing.
Right.
And two, he was trying to apparently fight Rampage.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Kevin Holland. I think he needs to get back down to welterweight.
Yeah.
He was doing really good against welterweights. I mean, Michael Chiesa ran through a bunch of other guys that I can't bring off the top of my head right now. But he was doing really well at
He was a big welterweight.
Yeah, and I think that had put him at an advantage. I think the 185, I think his last fight was at 185, though, against Michael Olajaychuk. A good performance. Olajaychuk didn't tap out, though. It was awkward. Kevin Holland does need to get back to welterweight, though.
Yeah.
Where does this leave DeRitter? Do you think he gets a top 15 opponent now? I mean, Kevin Holland.
Yeah.
Who? This is at middleweight, too, so you've got your Brendan Allens in there. You've got your who else? Who else would be a good matchup? I mean, you have your Anthony Hernandez is in there.
Leave it for the UFC to decide.
Yeah, well, I think that he does deserve around top 10. I mean, 2 Division 1 FC World Champ. That carries you a long way. You're on a 2-fight win streak against 2 pretty notable guys. I mean, GM3 isn't the best person, but I mean, he got the win, and then Kevin Holland on a main card of a pay-per-view. I think this does set you up pretty well to fight a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
Does he win? We'll have to see who he's matched up against, and then we'll do that prediction video for that time. Next up, we had Jahilton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. Fight didn't go as I thought it was going to go. Spivak got the first takedown. Almeida reversed it. He literally just was on the ground, just shucked him over, got on top. Spivak reversed him back, and then ended up back on top.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of reversals, and then eventually Almeida managed to just push him off, get up, and then basically knocked him out. He TKO'd him. He rocked him on the feet, took him down, and then TKO'd him on the ground with only a couple seconds left in the round. It was there was 7 seconds left in the first round.
Oh, wow.
But he got the TKO stoppage. Jahilton Almeida's back to his winning form, his dominant form, his first-round finish form, which he's been on for a long time other than the Derek Lewis fight.
He's getting good, too.
He is getting good. I mean, he was ragdolling Curtis Blades, and Curtis Blades is the best grappler in the heavyweight division. He was ragdolling him. Yeah,
Almeida?
Yeah, Almeida was ragdolling him.
Give him John Jones.
No, don't give him John Jones. John Jones doesn't want any of that smoke.
Give him Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, if John Jones retires, then yeah. But Tom Aspinall is only going to fight John Jones.
Tom Aspinall needs to defend the interim belt.
No. John Jones needs to defend the world championship against the interim title.
And he dominated that fight.
Brother, they both have one title defense. Why would Tom Aspinall need another title? They just need to fight each other now. Who?
Tom Aspinall. I mean, John Jones.
That was for the title. That was winning the title.
Yeah, he won the title, and then he just beat Stipe Miocic.
And that was his first title defense.
He solidified.
Tom Aspinall also has one title defense. They both have one title defense.
But he's the interim champion. He doesn't get to call the shots.
Yes, that is how it has always worked. The interim champ gets to fight the world champ. That is how it always works. That is how it works. John Jones either needs to defend or vacate. Those are the only two options, defend or vacate.
His belt.
Yes, he needs to defend or vacate his belt. That is what I'm trying to say. He needs to defend or vacate.
He's waiting for.
And then if he wants to retire, which I am happy with, John Jones, go retire. Stop holding up the heavyweight division. If he does retire...
Can't hold it up if you defended the belt.
No, he is holding it up. He fought a guy that's 4 years out of competition who's 43 years old.
And then
that is holding up the heavyweight division.
When he was gonna,
that is the definition of holding up the division.
But when he was going to fight him, he was only 2 years out.
No, he was 3 years out. The fight happened 1 year later, so Stipe was 3 years out of action, which is still holding up the heavyweight division. No matter what way you want to spin it, John Jones has held up the heavyweight. He has held up the heavyweight division.
One of the best to ever do it.
No. Well, yeah, he is one of the best to ever do it. But currently, he would get his ass whooped by Tom Aspinall. And the reason why
he doesn't have the skills.
Then why doesn't John Jones want to fight him?
There's not enough footage on him.
Stop. Yeah, because he knocks everyone out. Because he has so much skill.
Is that a skill?
Yes, it is a skill. Okay, so if John Jones retires, Jailton Almeida versus Tom Aspinall for the undisputed world title.
If he beats John Jones.
No, John Jones is going to retire. John Jones doesn't want this Tom Aspinall fight. He's going to retire.
And if he beats Tom Aspinall, he doesn't retire.
If he beats Tom Aspinall, I think he does retire. Who else is he going to fight?
Jailton Almeida.
No, he's not going to fight Jailton Almeida. Everyone leave it in the comments right now. John Jones does not fight Jailton Almeida. We all know this to be true.
Whoa. He was going to fight Jamal Hill, though.
Because Jamal Hill's an easy fight. Did we not just see the next fight we're going to talk about? Did we not just see Jamal Hill get knocked down 3 times by Yuri Prohaska?
But he had a good fight.
He got knocked down 3 times by Yuri Prohaska.
He had a good fight, though.
Okay, that doesn't mean he can fight John Jones.
Yuri came back with a bigger chip on his shoulder. I think now this is Jamal Hill's.
Okay, who's the harder fight, Jailton Almeida or Jamal Hill?
For John Jones?
For John Jones. Jailton Almeida or Jamal Hill?
Jailton Almeida
is the harder fight.
So
obviously John Jones would want to fight the easier guy in Jamal Hill.
In a grappling sense, but in a striking sense, Jamal Hill.
No, we're talking MMA. We're talking MMA. Mixed martial arts. Who's the harder fight?
Jamal Hill.
You're crazy. All right, moving on to the next fight before I blow my gasket already. Too soon. We're not even there yet to the point where I'm supposed to be blowing my gasket yet. All right, we're on Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prohaska, where Jamal Hill got knocked down and beat up in the first round, came back and had a really good second round. I don't know how I would have judged that fight, that second round specifically. They were back and forth, banging it out. Second round, crazy war. 2 eye pokes kind of slowed the pace a little bit, but for the most part, it was a back and forth battle in the second round. And then third round, Yuri Prohaska knocks him down. He gets back up. He knocks him down again, and then he TKOs him. Jamal Hill has been saying for years that he'd knock out Yuri Prohaska. Jamal Hill is not at that level. Jamal Hill needs to fight like number 10, number 9, number 8, someone around there, because there's no reason.
Roundtree?
Yeah, that's a fine fight. I'd be happy with that fight. There's no reason for Jamal to be fighting at the top of the light heavyweight division right now. Who's he beating? Name one guy that Jamal...
Glover Teixeira, and he had the belt.
Name one guy...
He had the belt, and then he just fought for the belt and fought number 2.
Okay, no, Glover Teixeira did not have the belt when Jamal beat him. It was a vacated title.
Was the fight a 3-round fight?
It was a 5-round fight.
It was a 5-round fight. Yeah. He lost in the 3rd round.
What do you mean?
No, he lost in the 3rd round.
What, this? Yuri versus Jamal? That was a 3-round fight.
Oh, that was a 3-round fight?
3-round fight.
Okay.
Yuri versus Jamal was a 3-round fight.
And he got finished.
Name me one person that Jamal has beaten in the light heavyweight division right now. Right now on the active. Nobody.
He's fought in the top 2.
Nobody.
He's fought in the best.
He's beaten one guy in the top 15, and that's Johnny Walker. Name another guy in the division that he's beaten. You can't because it hasn't happened.
He could beat Anthony Smith.
Okay, that's fine. Then go fight Anthony Smith. Stop fighting at the top of the division if you haven't earned it.
Anthony's just like ranked number 7.
Jamal Hill, his last 3 wins were against Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos, and Glover Teixeira. One guy's retired, one guy doesn't fight for the UFC anymore, and one guy's Johnny Walker.
He beat a guy that John Jones beat, meaning that he could beat John Jones.
Who?
Jamal Hill.
Who did he
Glover
beat?
Teixeira.
John Jones beat him easily. Way more easily than Jamal did. Way more. John Jones wrecked. John Jones wrecked. Yeah, John Jones was on steroids at the time. He was. Yeah. At that point in his career, he was on steroids. You're right, yeah. He was on roids. John Jones has never been at that level other than when he's been on steroids. When he stopped taking steroids, then he was going to decision with Anthony Smith, OSP, Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes. After stopping taking steroids. He went to decision with 4 bums after stopping steroids.
He changed their careers.
Okay. Back to what we were talking about, though. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. Yuri... I don't know where this leaves Yuri. I know that this leaves Jamal Hill to fight lower down in the rankings. 10, 9, 8. Yuri Prohaska has nothing now. Who does Yuri Prohaska fight? Because he's already beaten Alexander Ratchik, who's number 4. Jan Blachowicz already has a fight, so can't fight Jan Blachowicz. Ankalaev and Pereira announced it's going to happen in March 8th. So can't fight Ankalaev. Already has 2 losses to Pereira. Who does Yuri fight next?
Might as well rematch Hill. If Hill...
He wrecked you. Okay, Hill had a good second round. Yuri wrecked Hill. He wrecked him in the first round. He wrecked him in the third round. It was a close second round. But overall, there's no reason to run that back. No reason at
If
all.
that fight would have went to a decision and Hill would have had, if they would have had another round, like the second round.
No, but he didn't. He got knocked down twice in the third round. So even if he lasted until the final bell, it still would have been 2-1 for Yuri. And that third round probably would have been counted as a 10-8, which would have actually made it even more. There's no reason for a rematch.
Or 49-46.
Yeah, there's no reason for a rematch. No reason, period.
If he has no one to fight, then there's every reason for a rematch. Or give Hill Pereira again.
Give Hill Pereira?
Yeah.
You mean Yuri Pereira? Yuri versus Pereira? Jamal Hill just lost to Yuri. Why would Jamal fight Pereira again?
Styles make fights.
But he just lost to Yuri. Why would he fight for the title? Why would he skip over Yuri and fight for the title after he just lost?
Anyway.
Okay, now you're being insane. We're moving on. When you do this, you make my brain go crazy. We got to just move on now. Merab versus Umar. Go ahead and say your piece, and then let me respond, because we've already had this argument before we rolled the cameras. Let's go over it one more time. What do you think about the fight?
I mean, what do you mean, what do I think? I mean...
From what you said, Merab dominated Umar.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Did you not see the last 3 rounds?
Yes, I did. You mean the last 3 rounds where Umar got slightly tired, and yet those 3 rounds were still razor thin close?
He broke his hand. That's the aspect of the fight that
needs
to be respected.
No, it isn't. Because the judges don't see that. The judges can't tell that your hand is broken. So the judges don't get to score the fight based off of if your hand is broken or not.
But it affected his fight.
Okay, he still won the first 2 rounds more dominantly than anyone has ever won any round against Merab ever.
Only 2 rounds, and Merab won 3.
Okay, but I'm saying the 2 rounds that Umar won, and I agree, Merab won. He won 3 rounds to 2. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
I am saying that Umar did more damage in the first 2 rounds than Merab did in the last 3. Way more. I mean, I showed you the pictures of their faces. Merab was bleeding and bloody and bruised.
My gosh.
Umar didn't have a scratch on him because Merab is only
after the fight.
Merab is only a gas tank. He grabs your legs and he holds on to you and doesn't do anything.
They have professional
Name
doctors.
Name one moment. Okay, then why did Merab look so fucked up?
Merab did it. Not after the fight. No.
He had bruises all over his eye.
He's just a guy that bruises easily.
Okay,
like Nate Diaz.
Name one moment from Merab.
Nate Diaz bleeds, but he's not damaged.
Name me one moment from Merab. One moment in that fight where he actually did something to damage Umar. Not just throw his hands up in a takedown. Name something that he did to damage Umar.
Listen. He outperformed him.
Name one thing he did to damage Umar.
He hit him with some big strikes.
I'm not asking any of that.
Strikes.
That's not what I'm asking. Name me one thing he did to damage Umar.
Broke his hand.
Umar did that to himself by punching Merab square in the face.
Because Merab is too strong.
Name one thing that Merab actively did in the fight to damage Umar. You can't, because it didn't happen. He landed one good punch in the 5th round, and that won him the 5th round.
He toyed with him because
what did he do to toy with him? What did he do?
Listen, Umar went for a single leg. He didn't get it. Merab easily got the single leg. I mean,
no, he didn't.
You could just see the difference in size and stature. Merab clearly had a strength advantage.
No.
Clearly had a strength advantage.
No. Not in the first 2 rounds. Once Umar started getting a little more tired, then yes, obviously. Merab has an insane cardio, insane gas tank. Never doubting that. Merab has the best gas tank, the best cardio in the entire division. In the entire UFC. The best. He still doesn't do anything with his takedowns. He just holds you. He's a professional cuddler. He doesn't do anything when he takes you down. That is my biggest problem. And by the way, Umar, when he took Merab down, he went for a submission. He tried to get the rear naked choke. Merab didn't try a single submission in the entire fight. Okay? Now let me tell you this. Significant strike accuracy. First off, significant strikes. Merab landed 111, Umar landed 104. Significant strike percent. Merab landed 42%, Umar landed 43%. Total strikes were a little bit different. 142 to 113. Takedowns were 7-2, and the takedown percent was 23% to 13%. By the way, Merab landed 7 takedowns out of 30. Umar stuffed 23 takedowns. No one, So Petr Yan stuffed a lot of takedowns,
Yeah.
but there was also a lot of control time on Petr Yan.
But Umar didn't do enough to win that fight.
Wait. Merab only had 2 minutes and 22 seconds of control time. That is the lowest control time Merab has ever had in the UFC on anyone. So you can say Umar didn't do enough to win. He still did better than any other fighter against Merab ever. Like, other than, like, Ricky Simone, who, like, kind of submitted him in the last second, but kind of didn't, and they had that weird decision thing that happened. Other than that fight, no one has ever been able to fight that effectively against Merab.
Has Umar fought Petr?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good fight to line up next. But honestly, I think you give Umar a rematch.
Nah.
Because without a broken hand, that fight might have went differently.
Nah.
If he didn't break his hand in the first round, that fight might have went differently.
That fight would have been the
Are you
same.
saying that having a giant potato in your hand actually does nothing to the fight? You're fine. A broken hand does nothing to your performance. Are you trying to say that right now?
Not to a real warrior, a real
Shut
gladiator.
the hell up. You know that
gladiator.
if Umar didn't have a broken hand, he would have done better in those later rounds.
Probably would have done worse.
No, he wouldn't. Umar started to get gassed. I acknowledge that. He did. He started to get gassed. And that's what made Merab start to take over in the later rounds. But Merab didn't do anything. He just kept on taking him down and letting him back up. Taking him down, letting him back up. He didn't land a single punch on the ground. He didn't try a submission. He didn't do anything. He just held on to him like he was trying to cuddle him. That's all he kept doing. He landed one good punch in the 5th round. That's it. Do you have any rebuttal to that? You don't, because it's impossible to rebut.
Merab won the
That
fight.
is what. Yes, he
His
did.
first title defense.
Not arguing any of that.
He could honestly retire as the bantamweight
Number
GOAT.
5 pound for pound, best bantamweight of all time. Not arguing any of that. He's the number 5 guy in the world right now, out of all the
Should
pound
be
for pound
number
fighters.
4.
Who would you put above him, or who would you put below him? There's
Tom Aspinall.
No. Out of the top 5 guys, there's Islam at number 1, John Jones at number 2, Pereira at 3, Ilia Topuria at 4, and then Merab at 5.
Ilia Topuria.
No. Ilia Topuria is leagues and miles and dimensions above Merab.
Listen,
He finished.
Merab beat
He
4
knocked out.
champions. Ilia only beat 2.
Ilia Topuria knocked out the 2 greatest featherweights of all time.
He never
Back to
fought,
back.
He never fought Conor McGregor, the first double champ.
Okay, you're getting way off topic now. The 2 best fighters at featherweight ever are Max Holloway and Volkanovski.
Did he fight Brian Ortega?
He's like not even in the top 10 best of all time at featherweight. What are you talking about?
Did he fight Yair
Okay.
Rodriguez?
I'm done having this conversation about Ilia. We all obviously know that Ilia Topuria is a better fighter than Merab. We all know this. This is common knowledge. You're on the fringe 1%, okay? Just know that.
I don't believe that.
Everyone knows that Ilia Topuria is a better fighter than Merab. Merab just holds you. He just hugs you. That's it. Can you name one highlight from any Merab fight? The only highlights you're going to tell me from Merab fights are him doing silly, goofy shit, like kissing O'Malley on the back, throwing his hands up in the air when someone's trying to take him down. None of these highlights are actually him damaging people.
He held up Henry Cejudo like this.
None of that
Brought him down on like a WWE boom fireman carry, slammed him, held him down.
That is exactly what I'm
Dominated
talking
the
about.
fight.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. You're saying these like spectacle things where he does some weird funny thing.
That wasn't funny. That was damaging.
No, it didn't.
To Triple C's career.
Triple C is an Olympic gold medalist. You don't think he can take a takedown? He was fine. He can take a takedown.
So why did he lose the fight? Why wasn't he able to get back up?
Because Merab is a cardio machine.
Because Merab is just that dominant of a champion.
What did he do to dominate other than hold him?
He outvalued him. He even outstruck Sean O'Malley.
Dude, these strikes are these. These are the strikes that Merab lands.
Nah, they have more power.
No, they don't.
Bro, Merab's like...
Merab has pillow hands. Merab has straight up pillow hands.
Adrenaline.
He has straight up pillow hands. Merab is a crotch sniffer, okay? All he does is go for takedowns and hold you down. That's all he did to win those final 3 rounds against Umar. Umar, in the first 2 rounds, actually landed damage on Merab. He landed punches. He landed kicks. He cut him open. He made him bleed. He bruised him up. Umar, after the fight, had no facial
so
damage. Not a single scratch.
So you're telling me those 2 rounds was enough to win him the fight?
No, I'm not. I am a full 100.
Sound like a Dominic Reyes.
I am a full 100% defender of whoever wins the more rounds wins the fight. Merab won the fight. Merab's number 5 pound for pound of all time, or number 5 pound for pound right now, and he's the number 1 bantamweight of all time. Not arguing any of those 3 points. He beat Umar. Not arguing any of those 3. I am saying that his strategy to win is not the criteria to win fights. The criteria to win fights is damage. That is the number 1 criteria. Merab has not landed a damaging strike ever in his career. That is my argument. I'm not saying he lost. I'm not saying he's not number 5 pound for pound. I'm not saying he's not the greatest bantamweight of all time. I am saying that he is a cardio machine who does not land damage. And when I see a UFC champ, I want to see them throw some punches. I want to see them land ground and pound. I want to see them get submissions. Do you? I'd assume that's why we watch UFC, right? To see good fights, good fighters, landing knockouts and submissions. Merab doesn't do any of that. He holds on to you until the clock runs out.
Merab reminds me of a young John Jones. Just
we're moving on. We're moving on. Main event: Islam Makhachev versus Money Moicano. The last minute change to the fight. Islam Makhachev did not get dropped, as you were stating.
Islam got dropped.
Moicano admitted.
If that fight would have went any longer, Moicano would have dropped Islam again.
No.
His striking was way too crisp.
Stop. Moicano, you can't just lie to the people at home. Moicano admitted that it was a slip and that he did not land a punch on Islam. He said that.
To be nice.
No, he didn't. No, he wasn't. He said that. He said, I didn't land that punch. He slipped and fell. That is what Moicano said.
Because he's trying to protect Islam's image. If that fight would have went any longer, Moicano would have knocked him out.
He wouldn't.
You could just tell by the striking exchanges. No. Yo, literally, if Islam did not get that takedown, Moicano was going to outstrike him those 5 rounds.
This is MMA where Islam took him down and then submitted him, which is what I wanted to see Merab do. But Merab can't do that because Merab is not a submission guy. He can't get submissions.
If Moicano was to come back with better, if anyone, put Ilia Topuria against Islam because he has better striking than Moicano, but the only thing is that he's not as tall.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam because that is just going to fuel the fire more for people online saying he only fights featherweights, he only fights guys that are on short notice, he only does this, he only does that, he only fights guys out of his prime.
Because that's all he does.
That is not his fault.
Charles Oliveira used to be a featherweight.
Okay.
Dustin Poirier used to be a featherweight.
So did everyone at lightweight. Everyone at lightweight used to be a featherweight, okay?
Except for Islam.
That's beside the point. I'm talking about guys that are moving up and their first fight in the division is against Islam. That's what I'm talking about. Everyone used to be a featherweight. Everyone used to be a weight lower. Everyone in the entire UFC used to be a weight. John Jones used to be a weight lower. Now he's at heavyweight. Everyone used to be a weight lower. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean shit to me. You put on pounds, and now you're that weight. That's what Max Holloway did. I said this to you on Instagram. You commented something on Instagram, and I said this to you on Instagram. I responded.
Max would have beat Islam.
And I said, Max Holloway moved up a weight, looked really good at that weight. Conor McGregor moved up a weight, looked really good at that weight. There are a bunch of BJ Penn moved up to welterweight, looked really good at welterweight. There are a bunch of guys that move up a weight class and look really good. And the argument that Volkanovski isn't a natural lightweight, the argument that Ilia Topuria isn't a natural lightweight, the argument that Money Moicano or Dustin Poirier aren't natural lightweights is just false. They all can be natural lightweights. All of them. They can all put on 10 pounds and look fine at lightweight. So that argument, out the window. The short notice things, it is not Islam's fault that Charles Oliveira and Arman Sharukian both pulled out of the fight at the last minute. That's not his fault.
I don't even want to see him fight Arman anymore.
He still accepted fights against people that he didn't prepare for, which is the sign of a champion. That is the sign of someone who will defend this title against anyone, anywhere, at any time.
Rigged.
It is not rigged. That is not his fault.
The UFC is rigged.
That is not his fault.
They give these
Dustin
guys
Poirier
easy fights just so they can maintain.
How was it Islam's fault that Arman pulled out of the fight because of a bad back? How was it Islam's fault that Charles Oliveira pulled out of the fight because of a cut eyebrow? How was either of those his fault? Not, right? They're not.
Just a boring champion.
And you say that you said on Twitter or on Instagram that Dustin Poirier isn't still in his prime. Dustin Poirier is more in his prime now than when he fought Khabib 5-6 years ago.
You're crazy.
He is.
You're crazy.
He got dominated by Habib, ragdoll by Habib, and then didn't start to look in good form until he started fighting Conor in 2021. When he started fighting Conor in 2021, that is when his career turned around, and that is when he started to truly look elite. He looked real good in the Islam fight. And we know now that Islam is the greatest in the world. And Dustin looked real good in that fight. So he wasn't an out of his prime Dustin Poirier.
He's out of his prime.
He's not, dude.
He's just well experienced.
Yeah, which means that he's still in his prime.
No, that's different. Prime and being well experienced are two different things.
Your prime is the mix between the two. Your prime is the mix between having experience and still having your abilities in the octagon.
He didn't have his full capability, his full strength. He looked smaller.
No. Dustin Poirier hit his prime in the Islam fight. I will make that argument. Because it is when your experience crosses with your fighting ability. And his experience and his fighting ability was at its peak in the fight against Islam. That is when he hit the point where they collided. He had the most experience in his career, and he still was in his fighting prime. And those two hit at that moment. Okay? It wasn't before that. It was at that moment in the Islam fight that he hit his fighting prime.
He's 36.
Your point. Okay? Glover Teixeira won the title at 41. He hit his prime at 41. What is your point? Just because the average is 33 doesn't mean you can't hit your prime later.
Nah, it's definitely not his prime.
What was his prime then? What fight was Dustin Poirier's prime? What fight was Dustin Poirier's prime then?
The Bernard St. Denis.
You mean when he got ragdolled for a round and a half and then eventually got a lucky knockout?
My point exactly. Out of his prime.
Dude, he got ragdolled by a good wrestler who just kept on shooting on him. Benoit St. Denis pulled the Merab. That is not Dustin's fault that he just kept on getting taken down over and over and over again.
How could he barely survive Benoit St. Denis but could survive Islam?
Because Islam is more strategic than Benoit St. Denis. He wasn't going to let himself get put in that position like Benoit St. Denis did. Benoit St. Denis just kept on shooting and got tired.
That's not true.
It is true. How do you know? Did you talk to Benoit St. Denis?
I watched the fight live.
Yeah, me too. And I can tell you that Benoit St. Denis started to get tired from how much he was shooting. He was putting in so much adrenaline and so much effort that he started to get tired. Islam wasn't going to let that happen to him. And by the way, Islam took Dustin Poirier down and ragdolled him in the first round, just like Benoit St. Denis did. So I don't want to hear that. Because in the first round, they both did the same thing to Benoit St. Denis. It's just that Dustin Poirier ended up not knocking out Islam. That was the entire difference. Okay? So now that we're clear on that, let's go back to the point that I was trying to make, which is that Dustin Poirier was in his prime. Alexander Volkanovski took the fight on short notice, but so did Islam. He accepted on short notice. Same with Moicano. Moicano took the fight on short notice. Islam accepted it on short notice. Those are not to knock Islam. Those are actually good things for Islam to do. Would you rather him just said no and then just the entire pay-per-view was canceled?
Could have put someone else.
Who? Who could have main evented that card? Merab and Umar?
Yeah, it was actually a better fight.
Yeah, but who's the bigger star? It's Islam Makhachev. That's the guy that we were all looking for. If you go on to our video, and when you look through when our highest peak is in that video from our live reactions, it wasn't the Merab Umar fight. 66% of people watched just to see Islam Makhachev submit Moicano on our video. People skipped right over the Umar Merab fight. They went straight to the Islam fight. I could show you the statistics right now. So you could say that, but less people would have bought the pay-per-view if the main event was Umar versus Merab. Here, look. You see that spike all the way to the left right there?
Yeah.
That was when Islam submitted Moicano. So that's how many people were watching that. Okay? So the Islam should have accepted that fight.
Right.
There's no reason for him to not accept that fight.
Right.
There you go. So, Islam Makhachev is the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Undisputed. Dana White finally said it. So do you still argue that John Jones is the greatest in the world right now?
I don't think Islam's even over Pereira.
Then why is everyone unanimously agreed now that, including Dana now, that Islam is number 1 pound for pound.
He barely even wanted to say that.
Yeah, he barely wanted to, but he still admitted it because there's no beating Islam Makhachev. I mean, he made the number 10 guy look like the number 10 guy. He didn't make it look like there was a close competition. He made it look easy. Alex Pereira fought the number 8 guy in his division and went 4 rounds and lost 2 of them. Islam fought the number 10 guy, submitted him in the first round. That's how you look against guys that aren't in your stratosphere. Guys that shouldn't be in the cage with you, you got to make them look like they shouldn't be in the cage with you.
Khalil Roundtree should be in the cage. It's different with heavyweight and the heavier weights. It's closer.
How do you say so? What about this man Anthony Smith that you keep on talking about? Just because he's a light heavyweight, you think that he has a shot against Alex Pereira?
In the grappling department, he does.
In the MMA department, because we're talking MMA.
If he shoots on Alex Pereira, right, he beats him. Right then and there. Takes the belt.
I think that's enough. We're at 35 minutes. I can't take anymore. I really can't. Oh my God. How did I become the one defending Alex Pereira? When did I become the Alex Pereira defender? Dude, he wrecks Anthony Smith, dude.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Whatever you say. Hope we see that fight one day. Hope Anthony Smith manages to make a 5-fight win streak in the twilight of his career after he retired. By the way, he retired. So I hope he makes some sort of 5-fight win streak and makes his way back to the title.
Listen, like you said, your prime could be whenever.
Fair. All right, I think that's it for us. What's Wait. What's happening this Saturday? Is there any fights on this Saturday? Is Izzy versus... No, there's nothing on this Saturday, right? The next card is Izzy versus Amavov, which will be in 2 weeks, which means that we'll be doing our prediction video for that next week. Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. So nothing this week for the UFC. Catch us back next week for our prediction video for Izzy versus Amavov. If you guys haven't watched our live reaction to UFC 311, please go back and do so. Hopefully Elijah will pay for the next pay-per-view because I ain't doing it. And hopefully he'll be there for Strickland versus DDP 2. And he'll pay the $80 because I'm not buying that goddamn pay-per-view. Might have to hit up some sites, some other sort of services. No, don't.
Live reaction at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Don't do anything illegal. I mean, we could go do a live reaction to Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't mind that. I mean, as long as I don't gotta pay $80 to watch a main event. That's literally the co-main event is cool too. I've been a Tatiana Suarez defender for years. I want to see Tatiana Suarez fight for the title. So co-main event is cool too. Rest of the card fucking sucks. Okay, not paying $80 for that goddamn card. I refuse to. It's a disgrace that they even made that card look like that. Honestly, it's a disgrace.
What if it was $25?
Dude, they made Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong a better card. It's got Dominic Cruz versus Rob Font on it. They made that a better card than UFC 212 or 312.
Because it's the beef that's holding it up. The last card they had when it was just them two, it was trash.
Yeah, it was. It was trash. It was the Canadian card with the co-main event of Moreno Bena Silva versus Raquel Pennington for the bantamweight title, and the only other fight on that card that I even remember is Mike Malott getting beat up by Neil Magny in the last minute of the fight.
Oh my God, I remember that. But think about it, when it's gonna be like that, they already know the main card. I know the main card's gonna deliver.
I don't think 312 will. I really don't care. I like Jake Matthews. I think
just the main event.
I think it's Junior Tafa is on that card. Cool. But dude, it's a co-main and main event. That's about it. They need to throw something else on that card. Put Beneil Dariush on that card. He was supposed to fight on this pay-per-view. He got snubbed. Put him on that card. Do him versus Moicano. Moicano didn't take any damage. Rerun that fight that was supposed to happen on the next pay-per-view. That would be perfect. Yeah. If you could get both guys to sign, do that as the feature bout. I think that'll make the card a lot better. Well, not a lot better, but it's something.
I mean, for before the main event, yeah.
Before the co-main, the fight before the co-main.
Yeah, the third fight. Yeah, that's a great spot.
I think that would be a great spot for that. And I mean, Moicano didn't take any major damage in that fight, so he should be able to turn back around. It's all about the weight cut for both of them. Will they both be able to cut back to 155? I don't know how weight cutting works. I don't know if their bodies can do that. They're both around this. I think they're a week apart from each other. They're both like 36 years old.
Yuri versus Jilton Almeida.
No. Jilton can stay at heavyweight. I don't think. Honestly, Jilton Almeida at light heavyweight, he probably would have made it to the title by now and fought Alex Pereira, and he probably would have beaten Alex Pereira just because of how good at takedowns he is. And his submission game is elite. So probably a bad move that he moved up to heavyweight when he did. Yeah. He probably should have stayed at light heavyweight. But you live and you learn. I think that's it for us. Do you have any final thoughts on 311 before I sign us off?
Rob's the GOAT.
Thank you guys for watching the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. Thank you, Elijah, I guess, for being on the show, raising my blood pressure. I've been your host, Justin. This has been the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. Go back and watch our live reaction for 311 and catch us next week for Izzy versus Amavov predictions. And peace out.